Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge. Alright, hi friends, I won't waste any time because we are chatting about one of my favorite tropes that there is out there. This video is a collab with Lizelle and some other wonderful ladies. I will have a link down below to, for sure, at least her channel. I'm not sure who will all end up being a part of this collab, but if you love these Toucher and Will on a live view recommendations, you will want to go check them out as well. Give some love to some other channels. Maybe you'll meet a new bestie that you need to watch all of their videos. Isn't that just the best? It is the best. And collabs are so much fun. I don't do a ton of them because I'm a pretty independent girl, but you know what? We all need our fellow romance girlies. And speaking of my romance girlies, this video is also kindly sponsored by my channel members. Once a month they get a vote on a video topic, and it just so happened that the one I was doing as a collab is the one that they wanted to sponsor. So here we are with this one. Now, also, if you like these recommendations, I have made this video a couple of times before. It's called many different things through the years. I've called them Toucher and You Die. I've called them possessive heroes or things like that, and really they're all the same. The heroes all like wrap up into that. It just depends on what we call them. You know, Toucher and You Die has really been the, you know, what we call that these days. But I mean, really, it's just alpha possessive heroes, and you know, I'm here for that. I'm here for that. I don't need much convincing to talk about them. So I have today 10 recommendations for you with this. Most of the ones in this are ones I've read so far this year. I did pull a couple back from my toolbox a while ago, but for the most part these are ones I've read this year, and including one that I've now talked about in 3 videos in a row, so hopefully it's enough to convince you to read it. And that's going to be His Tesoro by Emilia Rossi. This is the first in a Mafia romance series. It is an arranged marriage, age gap, and disability representation story. The heroine has EDS, which I just wrote down for the other video, so let me look at my notes. It is Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. Again, hope I pronounced that right. And could I describe that disability perfectly? No, so I'm not going to try, but it does mean that some of the times the heroine needs to be in a wheelchair, and her father, who is a complete asshole, and is the head of the Bratva, or one of the, he's the pecan, so yeah, the head of the Bratva, and he has hidden his daughter away, and when it is her time to be handed off to our hero in marriage, he is an Italian Don, he discovers his wife is using a wheelchair. Now, he doesn't care that she's in a wheelchair, as in, like, it doesn't offend him that she's in a wheelchair or anything, because he doesn't plan to care about his new wife at all, you know, like, he doesn't plan to be spending any time with her. He's going to put her up in his penthouse, make sure she lives a nice little life, and completely ignore her, because this is supposed to be a marriage of alliances only. But, you know, he just can't keep away from her for very long because she is sweet and she bakes and she's just so kind and lovely, and he just can't help it. He can't help but be drawn to her. And when one night she falls down and gets herself in a bit of a tough situation, he comes in and takes care of her and realizes, like, why am I hiding myself away from her? She's amazing. And that's His Tesoro. Now, the third act, I'm telling you, the third act, not my favorite thing that I've read. Really, I think it didn't need the level of, like, craziness that happens, okay? But this book, the other 80% of this book is completely worth it because the ending is very strong. The whole 70% before that is strong. So the third act, I'm kind of like, I don't know what, but that's okay. Like, literally, the book is so worth it. He's so possessive over her. It's beautiful. He, you know, there's a really, really great line that I love where he takes her to a dinner, and she's like, you sure you want people to see me in my chair? Like, that is going to be embarrassing to you. And also, you know, they can tell you're in love with me. And he's like, if anyone in this room thinks that I'm weaker because I worship my queen, well, they're not going to be alive very long, because they're going to learn. And I'm just like, stop, be still my heart. That's all I need. It's fantastic. So highly recommend this book. Really, it's the only one by this author right now. I looked her up because I was like, damn girl, what else you got for me? I'm here, give it to me. It does appear that she's written some other books, but they are now currently like unpublished. They're not there. I think there was a reverse harem she might have written. So far this is all we got. And I hope she hurries up and writes me another one because I'm in. All right, then we have a fantasy book. This is a series that I wouldn't say like binge because I didn't read them back to back to back, but I did read them all within a month basically. And that is The Ever King is the first one here. And this is a fantasy romance series. It is sold as kind of like pirates meet Vikings. Mix in some fae and some magic and fated mates, and there we go. And now the Ever King and Queen are basically like a duet. They're about the same couple, and it starts with actually him kidnapping her and taking her to his realm, which is literally like through the ocean, kind of like, it's just wild, it's crazy. And they're fated mates, so he can't use her for his revenge the way that he planned to, and instead they are falling for each other, and it's amazing. Like there's no other way to say it. It's amazing, and I love it so much. Like I just love it. But Eric and Livy are the couple in this one, and they're both so strong. They're both so touch her and you die, but particularly he is. And when someone messes with his queen, he has this power. He's called a blood singer, and if he gets his blood in you, he can either use it to destroy you or heal you. Like he literally can then sing to his blood. And if he doesn't sing a song of healing, you'll die. So it's very interesting watching him do that and what his blood does to someone when he's using it to torture them or kill them. Y'all, you don't want to be on his bad side. So it's wonderful. Love it. So highly recommend this series. And as I keep saying, I don't know when I'll have the time to do this just yet, but I am very excited to go back and read her series that happened before this one. That is actually about a lot of the parents of people that I'm meeting in this series. But that series has like 9 books in it, and I don't know when I'll get to it. But so far there's a duet that starts off this series, and then the third one, The Mist Thief, actually just came out, and I really liked that one too. It was great. So definitely recommend. All right, next up I have some Brutal Ambition for you here by Sam Mariano. So this is a standalone within her Coastal Elite series. Now, I will say it would make the most sense if you read the Coastal Elite series, okay? Because where this one fits in is when we are in the college years, as it were. That series starts in high school, and then we make our way into college throughout the series. But it is following different couples. So you could read Brutal Ambition as it's listed as a spinoff. You could read it as a spinoff because the bits that you get of the other characters, there aren't really any spoilers to their relationship. Like, you know that they're going to be together. So there aren't really any spoilers to their relationships that show up. So in my opinion, you'd be fine starting with this one. But this one actually starts very interesting because the hero well, he's lying to himself, but he doesn't really care about the heroine when he happens to rescue her from being sacrificed in a sex ritual by a like secret society. It actually is a rival secret society to the one that he's in, and he's found out that this ritual is going to take place at this Halloween party, and he stops it, but again, not because he cares about the girl at the time. He stops it because he's like, these motherfuckers are going to get caught. There's no way they're going to get away with what they're doing. And then that's going to bring police scrutiny to all of the secret societies. And so his reasons for saving her, he tells himself, are very like altruistic, like they're for him. But when he rescues this girl, I should probably say his name. Bryn is the girl, and what's his name? Killian is the guy. He brings her to his home, and he won't let her go home because he's like, they know who you are. They know where you live. If you go home, you're not only putting yourself in danger, you're putting your roommate in danger. Like, you need to come stay with me. And so he does like force her to come home with him. And he does kind of coerce / force her into paying him back in sexual favors for rescuing her. So again, he is not a pure and innocent boy by any means. But once he now has this girl in his sights, he will crush anyone who tries to comfort her. And I found this one pretty interesting too, because in the Coastal Elite series, all of the heroes in that series are stinking rich. Their daddies could buy them anything. And in fact, a lot of the Coastal Elites are in this secret society that's like the real deal, okay? But Killian, he has actually had to scrap and scratch his way into it, and he has made it to that place because of some deals that he's made. And Bryn is a bit inconvenient to some of those deals that he's made, but you know what? He doesn't give two shits because he wants her, and what he wants, he will have, and he'll figure out how to make it work. So he becomes very possessive, and I mean, really, if you would like a touch her and you die hero, you can do no wrong with any San Mariano, because there isn't one I've read yet that isn't like that. All right, then I wanted, like I said, to do some throwback for some of these. And one of my favorites to recommend for a touch her and you die hero that is a little more unconventional than some of the others is Ensnared. This, of course, is my beautiful copy of the Fate Crate one, and it has this absolutely stunning undercover here, but I love this art on the front. It is beautiful. And yes, this is book 1 in the Spider's Mate trilogy, which is complete, although the spin-off series should be coming by the end of the year. Rob and Tiffany said that they are making progress with it, which is exciting. But this is a trilogy about Ivy and Catan, and Ivy was on a ship in space. This is like an alien / monster romance, and their ship gets kind of stranded on this one planet, and they are trapped in it. Now she happens to be woken up by Catan, and he takes her and brings her to his home to protect her. Now there is a language barrier. He thinks she is like a pet. He doesn't even know what she is. You know, he doesn't even necessarily think she's pretty or anything in the beginning. She looks very pitiful to him because, I mean, he's this huge giant, Rix is what they're called, but I mean, he's Spider-Man. He's this, you know, big, strong, Rix, and there's this delicate, tiny thing, which he thinks is some kind of like, you know, naked creature. And so what I love about this one is how much of a slow burn this one is in this book, because, you know, if you were finding yourself attracted to a spider-looking man, you might resist it quite strongly. You know, if we're being honest, we might not all just jump feet first into a relationship like that. You know, like we know, you know, like we know we probably wouldn't. But the way that Catan and Ivy slowly get to know each other, they start to learn each other's languages, and through that, there's this pull between the two of them. Now, they are fated mates, so that does help us get over some of the, you know, barriers, let's say, that are in our way to romance, because they're fated mates. They're each other's heart's thread. They're supposed to be together. So it's going to work out, you know, it's going to work out. I love them so much. Do I have my sticker right here? I actually have a magnet of Ivy and Catan. They're so cute. Look at them. They're so cute. Look at them. They actually have their baby in this. It's so cute. Like, look at, they have their little spider baby. She's adorable. So anyway, I freaking love this series so much. I've read it multiple times. All the audiobooks are out for the series. Rob and Tiffany just, they tell such heartwarming monster stories. But Catan, he'll fuck somebody up who tries to touch his heart's thread, like, no joke. But I tell you, if there's ever a like monster romance series that like you're afraid to read, or you don't know if you'll like it because it's too weird, I highly recommend Ensnared, because it's not all about the smut at all. In fact, it's very reserved, especially for the first like 2 books. Like, we are trying to survive, and we're on an alien planet. We don't have a ton of time to just be getting busy all the time. I'm not saying they don't. I'm not saying that it isn't there, but it is much more about like them getting to know each other and becoming each other's love. Like, it's beautiful. Okay, now, in the same way that I always have to have a San Mariano, I always have to have a Pam Godwin on the list for this. Now, I did put the second one for this, Cage of Ice and Echoes, for a specific reason. This is the second in her trilogy. The third one will be coming out next month. Lord willing and the creek don't rise. She will get that book to us. I can't believe it's coming up so fast. Like, August felt so far away when she told us when it would be, and now I'm just like, it's coming so quickly. But anyway, the reason why I have the second book on and not the first one, and you do have to start with the first one because it's a traditional trilogy where like you would be completely lost if you start with this one. But in the first one, Leo and Cody are not quite as welcoming and protective over Frankie as they are by the time we get to this book. Also in this book, it is a fight for survival a lot of the times. So there isn't even necessarily anyone that they are having to like touch her, or like if someone's trying to touch her and die, scenario. But the possessiveness level, the animalistic base nature of these men who've been raised in the wilderness and now have this woman that they're both in love with, because yes, the series is Why Choose, is just unlike anything else. Like the way that Pam writes those types of relationships and connections, and the way also that Frankie feels about them. Like, she doesn't have much opportunity to do this, but if you read Hills of Shivers and Shadows, which again is where you should start with it, Frankie's the one first who says, touch him and you die. Okay? I should just throw that out there. Like, the first shots fired are her going, touch him and you die. And that's a woman after my own heart. Frankie's just as badass as these boys are. So I just love it. But anyway, the time has come, y'all. It's time to read this series. You need to do it. You need to do it. Okay, then let's go to a bit of a softer one. A lot of these ones are really intense, dark ones. And I mean, this one isn't necessarily like a light story either because it is dealing with some heavy topics, but it's not quite as dark as some of these other ones that we've read. There is Alive and Wells by Bailey Hannah. And I am just loving this series. Now, this one is a touch her and you die in the sense that our heroine ends up on this ranch working there. She ends up being kind of like a assistant to like the cook and the housekeeper there. And she's not very welcomed by the owner and the man running the ranch because he thinks she's more trouble than she's worth. He doesn't know why she's here. He doesn't trust her at all. But he is slowly becoming very intrigued with her and falling for her. Now, our heroine is very timid. She's very nervous and scared because she is actually a woman on the run. And the darkness part of this does come from the beginning of her story when we see her go on the run from her husband who is like, no one else can have you. So he's the toxic kind of touch her and you die, if there is a non-toxic version. But as she comes to fall for the owner of this ranch and they get to know each other and he learns her secrets, he will do anything to protect her. And the thing is, if anyone's going to come to his ranch and try to fuck with his woman, well, he has thousands of acres and miles where no one will find this person. And I love those type of vibes, okay? I'm here for it. Y'all know I love my cowboys, okay? I love my cowboys. Let us throw up a historical, and this is another one I've been talking a lot about lately, and this is also another one where the hero doesn't care in the beginning, and by the end is willing to just destroy London, let's say, for this woman. And that is Her Villain by S.M. LaViolette. I've been bringing this book up all the time. It is so good. It was so close to being a 6-star read for me, so I'm just like, read it. It is number 6 in a series, but in this case, you can start with this one. Most all of the books in this series stand alone pretty well. There's connective characters, but it wouldn't really mess up anything for you, again, except knowing that the people in romance books previously end up with their romance working out, So the HEA, I feel like, isn't really a spoiler to that. But in this one, we have our hero who is a contract killer, basically. And he is assigned an assassination that he is supposed to do. And so he's only going to be in London for a certain amount of time. And in that time, he's written as like a psychopath, so he doesn't really care about anyone. When he wants to get his pleasure, he goes to brothels, and that's where we find him at the beginning of this one. He's planning to go to this brothel to find a woman, And this certain brothel that he was going to be going to has actually closed down. It's not going to be open. And one of the women who works there happens to be there having an argument with the proprietor of the place, demanding the money that she's owed. And so she's in a desperate position. And so our hero is like, I'll pay you for the weekend to come and, you know, have sex with me and do what I want you to do and blah, blah, blah. And so she, not really having another choice because she's desperate, she willingly agrees. And yeah, she willingly agrees to this. And she goes home with him. And her goal actually is to get him to let her kind of be his mistress for a certain amount of time, because she's lost everything with this brothel closing. All the money she'd been saving to move to America has been stolen by someone there. And she needs the money. Now, he isn't planning to keep her. He's going to have her for the weekend, fuck her senseless, do everything he wants to do, and then kick her out because he doesn't have time for any entanglements. However, on the second night that she's there, to pass the time, because again, he's a psychopath, he's meticulous, he doesn't fuck before 9 p.m. type of thing, right? So they have to keep themselves busy until it's time to go fuck. And they play a game of chess. And she lets him win. And he can tell that she let him win. And he's like, why did you let me win? And she's like, well, I find that men don't like to lose. And he's like, well, that's lying. So I want you to actually play me. And so they play, and she whoops him. Like she beats him. And he is so intrigued by this. Like, he is just over the moon that she was able to beat him because he's good. And the fact that she could do that, he's intrigued. And so with that one game of chess, she kind of seals her fate, as it were. Now, maybe she doesn't see it that way. She sees it as, I got what I wanted. I now have this job for the next couple of months of, you know, just having to sleep with one man instead of having to be at this brothel and fuck whoever shows up. But also, he, like, leaves her alone in the daytimes. He's like, just be back here. At 8 p.m., we'll play a game of chess. At 9 p.m., we'll fuck. That's what we're going to do for the rest of my time while I'm in town. But very slowly, he wants to spend more and more and more time with her, and he starts to fall for her. And now, when someone comes around wanting to mess with her, he's not going to play. So he very slowly has become obsessed and didn't even realize. Then I have to share Hans with you. Now, I will say the entire S.J. Tilly series is touch her and you die. Okay? Breathe her away and die. Eat her cookies and die. That is what we have with Hans, okay? So this one is a neighbors to lovers. We have a plus-size heroine. We have our hero, who he is an assassin as well as the one from the last one. And he is staying away from all entanglements. And so he has this beautiful neighbor, and she brings him these different baked goods and different things, and they're awful, and he hates them, but he eats them because he doesn't want her to feel sad that he wouldn't eat her baked goods. And yeah, he always eats them and forces himself to eat them all because no one else is going to have them but him. And yeah, he admires her. He actually is kind of stalking her. Like, he will sneak into her home and basically lock it up because she will forget to lock her door. She'll forget to lock her windows. And he's just very, like, stressed out that she's not taking care of herself. But he also has never talked to her more than, like, a grunt or whatever. So he's very much secretly admiring and stalking her. And I know all of that sounds like he must be this horribly creepy person, but the way I swoon over it, because it's all done with this thought of just, like, complete awe that he has of her. Y'all, I'm a sucker for that type of awe, okay? I am a sucker. Suck me in, y'all. Anyway. So, yeah, definitely this entire series, the Alliance series, is touch her and you die, for sure. Okay, then we have, I mean, we still have more Mafia. Like, all Mafia, I feel like, is touch her and you die. There's very few of them that aren't. But let's do Tempted by the Devil by Michelle Hurd. I loved this one so much. I like a lot of books by Michelle Hurd, but this one really worked for me. And in this one, we have another scenario of, like, a heroine being, like, given to the hero. And it's actually her brother who has been abusing her. And when one of the Mafia bosses, I think there's the 5 ruling Mafia bosses in this one, when he finds out what's happening to her, he meets her and he decides he wants her as his wife because she's beautiful and he wants to possess her. So he very much is like, I want to own her. But once he gets her in his home and he starts to get to know her, he just becomes so obsessed with her. And every bruise and bump that's on her body, when he learns that it was her brother who was doing this to her, boy's days are numbered. His days are numbered. It's great. I love it so much. And there's even a scene near the end of this where someone in his family, someone that he actually trusts quite a bit, someone in his family does something against the heroine, and the way that he reacts to that, now that is where we see a real hero in the making with that one. Because it's one thing if you will defend her against your enemies, but how will you defend her against your family? And that's where he stands apart for sure. Okay, we also have Darkest Sins by Neva Altaj. This is the last Mafia one in this video, I promise. But in this one, this is the most recent book in her series, and this one is about Kai and Nira. And Kai is an assassin. That's a theme too. And one night he gets injured and he's like, this is it. I knew that this job was going to take me out one day, and if this is my time, okay. So he's literally resigning himself to death. He's just like, it's going to happen, whatever. And our heroine happens to be an apprentice for a vet, and she's leaving and she comes across this man in the alley who's bleeding to death. He won't let her go to the police, and so she ends up bringing him back into the veterinary offices and sewing him up. And now that she's done that, they don't even exchange their names with each other. He calls her his tiger cub and she calls him her devil. And he now is stalking her and looking out for her. So whenever he's not doing a job, whenever he's not being sent somewhere to murder someone, he's thinking of, or he's watching her. And to the point where one night he actually causes another injury to himself on purpose so that he has a reason to go see her and get sewn up. There's also a time where he's following her when she goes out with her friends and he saves her from being like attacked by someone, and he just becomes this like silent guardian to her. And it's very beautiful. I love that couple so much. It's like my favorite Neva in the series. And then the last one I wanted to mention is actually a fantasy, and I believe this was a debut fantasy. I could totally be wrong, but I think this was a debut fantasy for her. But it was called To Bleed a Kingdom by Ella Dawes, and this one actually has like both of them are like touch her and you die vibes. This one actually begins with a very like tragic beginning of the mom of the hero is being like, her husband gets killed and her children are going to be attacked, and she's able to like send her children to a panic room. This isn't a fantasy romance. And she actually gets raped by the man who is attacking her castle. Now that man ends up getting killed after doing this, but she does become pregnant from this rape, and she isn't able to get rid of the child, which she does want to do. But luckily that child lives and he becomes our hero. And so he is the bastard son, right? He's very much unloved by his mother. His siblings don't appear to hate him as much as his like mom does. I think they realize a bit more of like, how was this his fault type of thing, you know? But either way, poor dude's got it rough for sure. And then our heroine comes to town and she's looking for something, and he is sent as kind of like, he's the captain of his mother's guard basically, or like the kingdom's guard. And he's sent to kind of like find out what she's looking for and make sure she's not there to kind of mess anything up. Now, this one involves fated mates, so they're very possessive over each other without really knowing why. They're very drawn to each other, but there is going to be a lot of drama between the two of them. We'll just say that, because there are lots of secrets being kept on both sides of it. And this one does have a cliffhanger because there's another entry coming soon, but they both were very possessive of each other, both very strong, powerful characters. And I was here for it. I was here for it and I loved it. So I do recommend that as well. So there we go. Those are some Touch Her and You Die recommendations from me. Again, check out the other videos that I've done. I'll also have links to all of the books I mentioned down below. And then also please check out the other YouTubers who did rec videos for this as well. and tell them Jenn sent you. So thanks so much for watching, my friends, and we'll see you next time. Bye.